I studied that and I said, you know, a Nuwabian came to me and said, you know what, I've been listening to your lectures. The information is powerful. One of the teachers, I won't mention his name, I'm not going to put him out there like that. But he said, you know, it's a spirit that you're operating out of that's powerful with the lectures and the information you're putting out. And he said, it's a spirit on you that other people and other lecturers are not putting out at this particular time. And I said, I listened to what he said, and I took in what he said, and I said, you know what, it's the spirit of the Mahdi. It's the spirit of that energy of revolution and warfare and truth, and not taking no shorts, and not playing and short-stopping, and really coming bringing the reality of change. That's what they're hearing. That's what he was hearing in my message. So I went to debate more with Muslims and even the occult. I've been arguing with not just Muslims, debating with not just Muslims, but arguing with people who are part of different Masonic groups. And they said, well, you need to go through this order and you need to go through that order. And I said, you know, I asked them first, with debating with the Muslims, I said, did Allah exist before Prophet Muhammad's revelation? Peace and blessings be upon him. Did Allah exist before Prophet Muhammad? They said, well, obviously he did. He created the universe. He created the world. I said, okay, now, Prophet Muhammad could not read when the Quran was revealed to him. He could not read or write. And the angel, supposed to be Gabriel, came to him and said, read, Iqra, which is Arabic for read. So he had to begin to read and write, even though he could not read and write. So the Prophet Muhammad was ignorant. You see what I'm saying? Illiterate. He was illiterate. And all of a sudden he can read and write. So now I said, who's more powerful? Allah or Prophet Muhammad? They're going to go ahead and tell you it's Allah that's more powerful. And I says, if you read the Quran, it says that Allah chooses whom He will. He awakens whom He will. And nothing in the universe happens without Allah's permission. All this they will tell you and confirm this. And Allah does what He chooses. No one knows Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one knows His mind or what He's going to do. This is what the Muslim will tell you. And I said, that's deep. So I said, can Allah choose to awaken an individual up in 2008? Can Allah do that? No, Allah said in that book, He said in the Quran. I said, no, wait a minute. I said, can Allah do it though? I understand what it says in the Quran, because there were books written before the Quran, that the Quran respects those books. The book of the Old Testament. They said, well, that is a good book, that Allah sent this book. And He went against those books when He wrote the Quran. The stuff that He said in the New Testament changed when the Quran was written. So He changed what He was talking about. Allah's message changed for the people. It changed. So yeah, we're going to go deep tonight. Allah's message changed. Because they'll say the Testament is a good book. But when He came with the Quran, He changed His message. So this guy can change. At any time He wants to. Allah can do what He wants to do. It also says that in the Quran, that Allah will send a messenger to each people speaking their language. So that means that they're not going to come speaking Arabic. If you speak English, that means the messenger is going to come to you speaking English. If you speak Chinese, a messenger is going to come to you speaking Mandarin or Cantonese. If you're Japanese, a messenger is going to come to you speaking Japanese. Do you see the point I'm making? So a message, it says that in the book, that He's going to send a messenger to each people speaking their language. So if that's the case, and we know Allah changes, and none of them know what Allah is going to do, they only look to His scriptures and His written books and their understanding and interpretation of those books to see what He might do. How can you go and say that another Messiah or messenger or another enlightened being cannot rise up in His time? It's impossible. Because Allah can do what He will. He can wake up who He wants to whenever He wills. This is what the book does. This is what your book says. Allah can do what He will. He can manifest what He will. So when you go and say that this is not the truth, you're now going there. You're not limiting Allah. You're not limiting the people who manifest the truth. Because they possess power and force backed by nature, backed by what you call Allah. Those individuals are backed by that energy, the energy of reality. They say Allah is reality. La ilaha illallah means Allah is the only reality. So there are human beings walking the earth that are backed by the reality of truth. So whether you agree or disagree with those individuals is irrelevant, because the truth itself backed them. The laws of universe back these individuals. So if Allah can do that and raise up these individuals to come among us and speak truth and speak knowledge to us in our language, not from a perspective of Arabic nationalism, saying that Allah is an Arab in the sky and that we should look to the Arabs and Allah is only in the east and that we should pray towards the east and that's where Allah is really at and pay $1,700 to go over to Mecca. It says Allah is all pervading. Wherever you go, there's the presence of Allah. It says it's in that Quran. So Allah's everywhere. He's not just in the east. He's all pervading throughout the entire universe. I read the book for myself. That's why I'm speaking on these things. So my point is that if we realize how powerful that who you're calling God is, or how powerful that energy is, we will be careful how we approach existing manifestations that are backed by that energetic source. Do you feel what I'm making? You would be, if you knew the power of this energy that you're calling Allah, or for Hebrews that they are calling Yahweh. If they had reverence for that energy, they would respect the natural manifestations of phenomenon on earth. They would respect them when they manifest themselves. They would not go guessing and condemning and coming to quick assumptions. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know, you're not who you say you are. You're not who you think you are. They will be careful doing that. Because I tell people this all the time. Nature makes leaders. What you're calling God makes leaders. Man does not make leaders. In the more science, simple Americans ask you, who made you? And it's Allah made you. That's the answer to that question. Who made you? And it is Allah. So Allah makes man. That energy, that source, that infinite intelligence, whatever name you want to put on it, makes man. Do you see what I'm making? So if that energy makes man, then there's no imam, there's no prophet, and there's no messenger that can make the type of man that has leadership. Do you see what I'm making? They're not here. It takes the creative energy of the universe to make that man. So you can pray 5 times a day, and you can read your Quran back and forth, and you can fast during the month of Hajj. You can worship the Sabbath day and take the Sabbath day off. But that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be a leader to bring our people up out of darkness. You have to be bagged by the forces of nature, which some people call the Neteru, some people call the ancestors, some people call them angels and spirits. Whatever you want to call it, a man must be bagged by that and produced by that. That makes leaders. These people walking around here judging and condemning people. You're doing this, you're not living by this. You don't make leaders. Because the people who are walking the Sunnah, who have read the Bible several times, are not making no changes in the community. They can't do nothing. And they live piously and live by the book. And I read every chapter. I speak 10 different languages. But what are you doing? You have no power backing what you're saying. The forces are not embodied within the existence of who you are. So I don't care how many prayers and rakats you do. There's no power backing that. No deen is going to make a man a leader. Allah said himself in the Quran, and I like to mention the Quran, but I will go into Buddhism, Lotus Sutra, or Confucianism. I will go into the Bhagavad Gita. I'll go into any of the holy books. Because truth changes not. No matter what book you read, if the truth's in there, it changes not in any of the books. But I'm just using the Quran because I have been dealing with Muslims about what I'm talking about. That's why I'm quoting the Quran. But the Quran says, I will put Khalif in the earth. Khalif is the Arabic word for ruler. He said he will place rulers in the earth, men that will rule. So when he set those men up to rule, that's what they're going to do. And whether you can read your Quran fast enough, or whether you're literate enough, or comprehensive enough to read that book and see the signs and symbols that are manifested in man, that's a personal issue. But those men will have power. People say, well, I'm against Dr. York. Dr. York did this and did that, and I don't agree with this and I don't agree with that. You don't have to agree. You agree with the white boy that put you in slavery for 400 years. Nobody has anything to say to him. of all that he did, how he raped and pilgrims our society, stole our ancient symbols and customs, and put us into mental slavery. Everybody go to work and punch in, no problem. No negativity towards him. But you got a black man who comes into power. Everybody judges and condemns. He shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have did that. Well, let me see you, before you can judge the negative that he did, let me see you do the good that he did. Only if you have matched him in being able to do the good, are you in a position to challenge him with the negative that he did. Do you see the point I'm making? You go and you got a man who feeds the children. Just to give you an example. Feeds all the children. Feed, clothes, and shelter them. Then you got a man who can't feed his damn self. Come and tell that man, I don't agree with what you're doing. Well, you feed all the children then. Right first, right? You take the responsibility. You don't live your selfish life only for yourself. And then one day out the week, you're big enough to judge people who have devoted and sacrificed their life for the liberation of the people. On your day off. You understand what I'm making? You got a person who devoted the totality of their life existence to elevate the consciousness of humanity. And you got a person who lives for themselves fully and know they do. And they're going to come and say, well, I don't think that this brother's who he said is doing what he's supposed to do. Well, what are you doing? What is that person who's judging him doing? Because what he's doing qualifies him now to be able to judge. So my point is that our leadership are not going to fit into the minds of people who will not free themselves. That's the reality. We have been thinking on a similar paradigm, and that's why we're in the condition we're in. Because that constant thought in that manner has locked us into how we're behaving to keep this European in power. So our leadership, if they're going to represent revolutionary change, is going to come out of that framework. They're going to come out of that mindset, and they're going to do something different. Because if you keep doing the same thing, you get the same results. So that means the leadership must come from a different perspective. And that's why I challenge the elders at. When the elders come and say, oh, y'all ain't going to be able to do this. This is not going to work. What are you talking about? We tried that in the 70s. We tried this. We tried that. And that's why I challenge them at. Because that attitude that you have is why we have the work that we have to do today. Because you are afraid, scared, and limited in what you believe can happen. And your fears and limitation has locked the consensus reality of collective consciousness of black people in this particular paradigm. Because if we follow the ways that they have left for us, then society is not going to change at all. We have to move away from that type of fear. Do you understand what I'm making? That justifies the limitations that we exist in. So we have to challenge the elders. Don't do that. You ain't supposed to do that. This is all you're supposed to do. That's why when you look at the news and you see shootings, black people still killing each other, massive murderings, because of the framework that our elders have set up. They are responsible. That limited mindset, well, just get a job and go to school and do this and go that. That limited perspective of not having no humanitarian desire to change the condition of your community. The type of selfishness that says, I should only live for myself. Forget what's going on in my community. That type of selfishness is why our community is the way it is today. So when we go to those elders for guidance, they say, oh, just worry about yourself. Don't worry about the community. Just get you a job and just do this and do that. Don't worry about nobody else. But the people that go neglected, of whom we don't have concern for them, are the ones that are going to shoot our children in the head. There is no isolation. You can't build you a particular island of wealth in an impoverished community. You cannot, because you're not separate. You can't hide from the reality of what's going on in the community. So you might as well jump into it as a humanitarian servant and try to solve the real problems that exist in our community. So I challenge the elders on that. Every revolutionary is going to challenge the slave-mindedness and the limited thinking of the people, which is why they have not brought about their own change. Every revolutionary is going to do that. If you can't challenge the thinking that's keeping people in the same matrix that they're in, then you're not a revolutionary. If people are agreeing with you and you're not getting any disagreement from nobody, from the elders, from anyone, you're not doing nothing. Things are staying exactly the way they are. And you can expect that what you saw on the news last year to be on the news next year. And you can expect the same conversations and same complaints against the European that was last year to be the year after that. So my point is that we have to come and challenge the elders. We got to challenge the religious doctrine. We got to challenge the mindset of people. that have them constantly in the box of white supremacy, because we have the